everyone. Welcome. I'm your host for today's Halloween ZBrush sculpt, Valerie Berrios Reyes. I hope you're all doing well and you enjoy the content for today. Here's some information about me. I've been at Full Sail for 6 years. Wow. I graduated from game art and I've been doing characters for the past, wow, 5 years too. My specialization is a little bit more on the stylized side. I mostly work with students asking questions, presenting, giving them a little bit more of certain options, etc. Kind of giving them tips on how to make appealing characters. Here are some of my work that I've done in the past few years. Like I said, a little bit more stylized. But yeah, that's mostly it. Oh, yes. So this year's inspiration for the Halloween sculpt was the creature of the Black Lagoon. Props for my coworker Dave. We're talking about this, and he gave me the inspiration. To be honest, I never remembered the Black Lagoon creature. Barely in my childhood. I'm Latina. I'm more on the other side of the chupacabra. I kind of feel. So definitely an interesting one for this year. I wanted to get a little bit more of a little different classic monster, as the Full Sail University's Halloween theme for this year is back to the silver screen classic monsters. So I thought this would be a cool thing, different, you know, sculpt to select. So let's talk about my inspiration and how I kind of achieve certain selection of the references. I wanted to talk to you guys about this because reference picking, it's very important. It's either going to give you the best work or the worst work. And I've seen it a lot happening with students where they don't select the best reference or they are mostly in an in between. So what do I mean about an in between? That means that you're not either going stylized or you're not going realistic. And it's okay to be in between that. But you would have to, and that's what I would suggest. You start with one path, then you try the other path, right? And then you kind of select yourself, you kind of find your inspirations, your style mostly, and then you go in through the middle. Because that way you already had both sides of the coin and you already know um, how to approach certain areas of a character to kind of go towards what you envisioned in your mind. So let's get to it. Here I have, just to mention this for you guys, this little software on the side that I can just stretch out. And I have mostly my references. It's called Puref, Puref. You can definitely download it for free online. Just Google it. This, I would suggest every artist has it. Why? Because it's not only good for references, it's good for inspiration boards, concept boards, etc. You can create notes and put everything in here, to be honest. So what I mostly do is, let's say that I did this year, I picked Black Lagoon. So I went to Pinterest, I went to ArtStation, just randomly Google the creature, and kind of just gather all those references into Puref. Why do I like Puref the best? Because I literally click and drag, and then everything is in there, and I can just move them around. So just letting you know that you have that option, and I would suggest, like I said, every character artist to have it. And then you have other options where it goes on top and etc. of your program, which is what I have it right here. It's always on top of my ZBrush. Because I always have it on the side, as every artist should have the references always on the side. Or any always references. So, this is what I do. Also, I have a few of these guys separate like you see, and it's preference of mine because this is going to be mostly the main reference. This is like what I want my end result to look. The other ones around that specific reference are inspirations, or oh, maybe I like the gills from this one, or maybe I like the mouth from this one. So maybe I want to incorporate a little bit of those into the reference and see how it looks. It's just more of an experimentation to me, to be honest. Some of them totally different. They're not even that reference, but I do like the overall look and feel of it, if that makes sense. So I do have a few inspirations. I'm like, oh, maybe I want to do a mask from it, and that would be super cool. And here, this one I have that they did it very stylized in the corner. So I'm like, oh, I like that. It's just plenty of inspiration here for me to kind of take from and not get bored in a way, just looking at one reference. So I always recommend make sure you have plenty of reference, but make sure you always have a good reference. So here are some drawings. They're not bad. They're beautiful drawings. The art is perfectly done. But what's the point of this to me? They're very suggestive of certain areas that I might not know how to approach because it's very simplistic, if that makes sense. It's very hand-drawn. This one I love. There's a lot of shadows and areas that I might need to complete with other stuff. But I still like the idea of this pose. I still like the idea of how it looks in the contrast. So that's why I have this at the bottom, just because I know it's there. I liked it, but it's not going to be good to start a 3D sculpt, if that makes sense, because it's not the clearest of shapes, not compared to these guy or this guy even. So I just wanted to go through the board and kind of just explain why they're a little bit different. This one's, to be honest, this one's worse for fun. You guys probably recognize him. Abe. So this one on the side, I might do this one later, to be honest, because I liked it, are just inspirations from the movie and just posters to kind of feel the color scheme, what they had, how it works, and how I can apply it in my sculpt. In my sculpt. So this one's a little derpy, which I loved. So, this is where I would like to see most of the artist's reference board. Because then let's say that they're coming onto me into a question of how they don't know how to approach this. And the first thing I'm like, where's your reference? Where's your reference board? And then we take a look and we're like maybe here and there, guys, make sure that you have this, make sure that you have that. Maybe certain areas of the mouth aren't reading. Go to another reference, kind of try to play that out a little bit better. So definitely for you guys, make sure that you always have that. And I just wanted to check on that. So I'm going to put this on the side a little bit. Props also to this 86 from DeviantArt, which made this cool concept that I was like, whoa, I want to do that. Just props to the artist always. So I'm going to put this a little bit to the side, a little bit more comfortable. I always tend to leave it on the left side because I always use this scroll options on the right side. So it depends on your preference, to be honest. So the first thing that I did when I came into ZBrush was pick a sculpt, a really, really basic bust. If you guys don't know where it is, we're going to go to Lightbox. And not that one. I'm going to click to go back, and it's going to be in the head planes. And I'm just going to choose the head planes male, which is the one that I did. I'm going to choose that again. And then here we are. Similar to this guy on the right side, which will tell you the direction of your model, which is very helpful if you're, recently starting ZBrush. I know that working in space is kind of weird, a weird feeling, so just make sure you have that guy on the side, and you will find that guy right here in the cam view area under preferences. Just letting you know on that. You can change which cam views you see. There's like skeletons and stuff. I would say keep it simple, because that would be the best. There you go. I'm gonna put it on the side. So first, before starting, this is what I want to do. I personally like to have certain areas of my ZBrush adjusted with certain buttons that I use most, because it kind of gets my workflow really faster. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to show you how to kind of customize and kind of push certain buttons around really quick. So maybe you customize your ZBrush a little bit. So we're going to go under preferences. Sorry, there you go. And we're going to go to configuration. This right here is the juice. So we're going to go to enable customize. And this is now letting you know that you have certain spaces at the top and at the bottom to just put whatever buttons you want. Like I said, I have certain buttons that I like. So most of my buttons are mirror and weld, delete hidden, because I hide a lot and I just delete that part. It's gonna be easier for me, and you'll see while I kind of sculpt. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit Control Alt, those two buttons, and I'm gonna hover over the button that I want to kind of push around, and I'm gonna take it, and as you see, it takes it and it gives you the options where to put it. I go a lot to the top, so I just put it on the top wherever I want. So I'm gonna do that to delete hidden, and like I said, I'm also gonna do mirror and weld. Mirror and weld is really good to fix your symmetry issues, so that's why I tend to kind of use it a little bit more, just in case I kind of miss my symmetry. ZBrush sometimes messes symmetry up, so just make sure to have that in mind a little bit more. So let's see. I'm also gonna put my, I'm looking for one specific that I always miss. Oh yeah, so subtool, we're gonna go to subtool, we're gonna go split, and the split hidden is kind of hidden, but let's just drag it over here. It will let me use it later because there's nothing hidden, so that's why it's grayed out. So those three are mostly that I use, that I like to have on the top, because like I said, it makes my workflow faster. And you can definitely set keybinds in the future for yourself. I just don't tend to use keybinds because I work with a lot of students and they have, you know, the basic default ZBrush. So I won't be like, oh, where's this, where's that? You know, I want to have the same as them so I can explain things and not go too advanced in adjusting things, because they're just starting to learn the program itself. So I want them to learn it default, and then if they, like you guys that I'm showing you now, if you want to adjust certain things, like I said, don't go too crazy unless you're a little bit more comfortable like that. It's okay. Then that's what I would do. So let's see, I have a question. So question, what drawing pad do you recommend? So the drawing pad that I recommend, to be honest, I've mostly used Xpen. The only two I've used are, actually no, three. I've used Huion, I've used the Wacom tablet, and I've used the Xpen, one of those. They are good. Like the Wacom tablet, which is the one that I have right now. Oh, reliable friend, right here. Look at it. It has a few scratches. If you can't see them, my bad. But it's really the best for me. But it, you know, it just depends on your preference. I know that Full Sail, like I said, it has the Xpen, also really good, which I also have at my house. I have like two different ones. So it depends on my mood, to be honest. But they're really good. So I would say try them and make sure that you feel comfortable with them, because there's no specific one that I would tell you like no. Just try them all, see what you're comfortable with, and play with that one. So another question: is it easier to use a drawing tablet with ZBrush or just a mouse? So this is a little bit of a fighting question, or I would say always use a tablet. Why? Because the tablet has pressure sensitivity and it will let you sculpt, for example. And I'm going to show you here. I'm going to press not that one, BCB, which is I'm going to push this over here, the clay buildup tool. The hotkey is BCB on your keyboard. So a mouse versus a tablet. A mouse will be very consistent in your stroke. A tablet, unless you go intensity, which it's an issue. Trust me, I've done it before to kind of try it out and see how it worked out. So it would be very consistent. With a tablet, you can fade out. You have a little bit more control over that stroke, and that will give you way better shapes, way better volumes overall. So I would always suggest use a tablet. And I know it's intimidating. Trust me, I've been there. I was like, how do I play with my hand on the right and then the monitor on the side? How does this work? It will come naturally with practice, to be honest. It will be a little bit difficult, but it will definitely come with practice. So always make sure you have your tablet in ZBrush, because like I said, you have that nice control over it. So you won't have a consistent stroke. I hope that answers your question. And I have a third question. Do you always sculpt with Symmetry on? Yes and no. That's a yes and no question. So you should always start with Symmetry. Like always. Make sure to always start, because losing Symmetry and trying to fix it in ZBrush, it's a little bit bothersome, to be honest. Like I said, you can go around in ways. For example, let's say that I lose Symmetry here because I accidentally pressed the X button, which is Symmetry, by the way. And I'm like, no, I want that gigantic ball on my right side to be on the left, So what are we gonna do? This is what I do. I just press mirror and weld, and that's why I have mirror and weld at the top. So just make sure to kind of avoid that extra hassle. Go and always use Symmetry. So the no, it doesn't have to be always on question or answer, would be when you start getting to the end of your sculpt, right? Let's say you're doing a human face, and obviously we're not mostly symmetrical. We have maybe a lacy eye, maybe we have a mole here that we don't have it on both sides. That's when you start breaking Symmetry. But I would say always leave it at the end and always make a duplicate. So you don't want to touch the original. And it's most of the time, like I said, at the end. Because that way, if you do it on a duplicate, then you already have whatever pose you want to have, whatever lacy eye-ness you want to have on your model. And if you don't like that, you have to go back to at least you have a saved one, if that makes sense. That's what I mean. At least you have something that's saved. Because once you lose Symmetry, like I said, it's really difficult to kind of get it, in the sense of at the end of something, or if you have subdivision levels, it might not let you use certain areas of ZBrush. So I hope that answers your question. Just always keep it on until you go and do the asymmetry of the person or whatever model you're doing. So I'm gonna go back to this and I can press Control C, or I can just go to the little bar here on the top and kind of just go back to the end. So like I said, I chose this guy because he's simple, it has the face of the planes, and it's just a base. I always like to start with a base, just because it makes this a little bit faster, and hopefully we can finish this a little bit in a good spot today. So we'll see what happens. So just kind of getting accustomed to this. Also, before I do this, I start this, make sure to put whatever else buttons you want to do in there at the top or at the bottom, wherever you chose. And we have to save that, right? So we're going to go back to preferences. We're going to turn off enable customize, and we're going to store configuration. And it says the master configuration file has been saved. So now every time you open your ZBrush, that will be the configuration that will be there. So just make sure to save that, because if not, obviously you won't have it when you come back up here, and you have to do it again, you know, not the best practice. Make sure online, if you have any questions, let me know. I'm here to answer them. So ask questions. I'm here to help you out. So this is what we're going to do. I am going to start kind of just sculpting a little bit. We're going to focus on, I'm sorry, my notifications went a little bit crazy there. Yeah, there you go. We're going to start with the primary shapes, which is mostly going to be silhouette. It's going to be overall scale and proportion of this guy's head. And like I said, we're going for the main right here. The main guy right here. And I'm going to use a few things of the others. I love this one. This is very stylized, but it looked derpy. I loved it. So, but are mostly going to be these guys here. Let me put it a little bit more to the side. So I'm going to make sure that I have these in my view, and I'm going to go a little bit lower to that. There you go. Cool. I'm going to double click an image, and it will just focus on that on pure ref. And let's start this. So the first thing that I look at this, when I look at this image, I'm like, okay, he's very, very wide-headed, right? So that's the first thing that I kind of go through. I'm like, okay, and this is going to look weird, but I'm just going to make him look wide. And nothing is sacred at this point. This is just going to be a little bit of going fast. I'm using the gizmo here, and like you guys see, we can scale it from side to side or front to front, move him up, you know, we can do all that. So another thing that I noticed, this guy has ears, mine doesn't. Let's cut them off. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to for this gonna put this on the side so you guys can see what's happening on the left side. I'm gonna click Control Shift, and I'm going to select lasso. And I'm going to hover over that. So you see how there's like green selection? I don't want that. Why? Because if I do the green selection, it's going to select the ears. I particularly do not want that. Make sure you have symmetry on. You see how I only selected one ear? That means symmetry is off. So I'm going to turn it on by pressing X. And now I'm going to select this. And while holding that, I'm going to press Alt. And that's going to give me a red selection. That's the one that I want, because this one is going to take selection out. And that's easier for me, at least. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to the top. Remember the buttons that we put in there? Boom. Delete hidden. And that automatically deletes your hidden object, which in my case was the ears. So now I'm going to put this on the side again. Cool. So obviously, like you see, there's like a hole in the head. We kind of want to close that. And that's when Dynamesh comes in. The way that I kind of do the process of sculpting, I always start from, unless I'm working on a project and they give me a base mesh, I try to always start with Dynamesh. Why? Because I have a little bit more freedom to kind of pull things around. And why there you go. My notifications keep popping up. I'm hitting something probably. Yeah. That always happens. It's okay. If it's not the Windows key, it's another key. So I'm going down in the sidebar, and I'm going to close this out a little bit so you guys can see a little bit better. I'm going out right here, and I'm going to geometry, and this tab won't be open, but I'm opening it right now. So right here is Dynamesh. Dynamesh button, gigantic right here. It's just on and off. Like, it's off right now, it's on right now. You don't have to hit it every time you Dynamesh, and that's something that I see a lot of students do when they're starting, and it's okay, because I know you're learning. But just letting you know that it's on and off. So I'm gonna click it, it's gonna be on now. The resolution, it's gonna be it depends on how high you want to start, how low you want to start. I would suggest you always start low. So it's going to be a test because it depends on your model itself and the sizing and everything. So I'm going to start with 128. To activate Dynamesh, I'm going to click Control, and you'll see how it turns yellow, the cursor. I'm going to click and drag, and that activates it. And you can see it here. You see? If it's not one, it's the other. So that activates it. So you'll notice how it's activated because I'm going to push this really, really, really intense. Just crazy. And I'm going to click Control, click and drag. And you see how it fixed the geometry. You see how here it's kind of breaking, like, ugh. And then I go and Z back, and it's fixed. It's giving you kind of extra geometry to support that. So that's what Dynamesh does, and it's really, really nice to start primary, secondary shapes of whatever model you're doing, like I said. So I'll get into subdivisions later on a little bit better. But so we cut the ears off. Now I'm going to smooth it out with Dynamesh. You see how it closed the hole, which is great. We don't want to have, a gaping hole there. And I'm just going to soften everything. And I might change the resolution, to be honest. You know why? Because, like I said, I like starting really low for basic shapes. And this right here seems a little bit high resolution for me. So I'm going to go here to the slider, and I'm just going to go try 32. And you'll see the difference. You see that super mid-res to this, which we can see a little bit more of the polygons. This is what I want when I'm starting a mesh. It's simple and fast to smooth out. That's my point. So I can smooth it out faster. That's why you need less polygons in there. If we had more, it's gonna struggle a little bit to smooth out the polygons. So from there, I'm gonna to BMV, which is the move tool, and you're gonna see on the left side of the right here how it changed. I'm gonna put that back. And this is the one that I use a lot because I want to make sure that I get the shapes fast and the silhouette faster, and that might be a little bit wide here. And I'm trying to make sure that this is really wide because he has a very, very wide mouth, to be honest. So let's just make him a little bit wide. He's a wide boy. If you guys have any questions so far, let me know. So I just start widening him. Maybe that's looking good. Maybe it feels like the top of the head needs to be a little bit more intense. And I'm not going anything specific here. We're not going to go too much into detail. We're just getting the overall shape that it's fine. It might change later. It doesn't need to be perfect right now. It just needs to be the closest you can to the model that you want. And I'm just gonna widen him. Like I said, he feels very, 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 very wide. So I'm just gonna go around. Make sure you go around your model and not just focus on one spot. And I might change this a little bit later because I feel like this is a little bit inwards. There you go. So let's say this is just my base, right? From there, what I tend to do personally, I take the Damien standard brush, It's called BDS. It's called Damien Standard, but BDS is your key on the keyboard to kind of click. I'm gonna get that in there. And what I do is I just mark things around. I'm gonna close up on this reference because I'm a little bit far from it. Cool. And I'm gonna put automatically, I'm just gonna be like, here is maybe the mouth opening, here is going to be my nose, and it's fine, like I said, to be kind of low. This is where my eyes would be, and the mouth might be a little bit too high, but we'll notice that eventually. I'm just marking things around. This is where my cheekbone would be. Always make sure to have some kind of human reference on the side if you're just starting this, because a lot of this cheekbone and head structure are very similar to humans, right? So just make sure you have those in there also to kind of support you. I go a little bit with a clay buildup again. I only use mostly like 3 or 4 brushes, which is the Move Tool, Damien Standard, maybe the polish one, and the clay buildup one. And I just go around and kind of just mark things around, like I said. I am gonna start to make the gaping hole in there. Just as a start. I know that it feels a little bit weird to kind of do this from the beginning, but I like to kind of mark, like I said, everything in there. Just mark it out. Maybe some fat folds at the bottom. And then I'm going to just align the side of my head a little bit better. So from here, I'm going to start to just push those cheekbones out. There you go. And I'm going to always go to not the front pose too much. I'm going to go always to this pose. And because my concept says it, right? My concept is a little bit of a 3/4. It's not a straight headshot. So that means that I'm trying to get as much as that silhouette that the image has. And that might be a little bit too much, but it's okay, it's okay. I might do that differently. So I'm gonna go back to this, and I'm gonna actually use the BIN, which is the inflate tool. And this tool is just gonna allow me to inflate around, and I feel like my mouth is a little bit inflated. And I'm gonna Dynamesh. Always make sure you Dynamesh. So I'm gonna go here and just Dynamesh, and always make sure to save. So we're gonna do that right now. I did not forget. So we're gonna do stream, and that should be good. There you go. Make sure to save, guys. Sometimes I see students that don't save and it crashes, or they ask for my help. This is the big one. They ask for my help. They haven't saved. I'm like, okay, let's try this. And then it crashes. And I'm like, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But you should have saved. Always make sure before any instructor helps you out that you already have it saved. Because you don't know that ZBrush, you know. Could be a little bit crazy, and then it just crashes, and then you're crying or something and you have to take a break or something. So just make sure to always save. And I feel like this needs a little bit more space, but we'll find out now. And I'm just doing the primary shapes of this that I see the most, and this might be a little bit going in to kind of pronounce my cheekbones. And I'm not sure if I'm liking the gapiness of the mouth, but we'll find out. We'll find out if we kind of work on it a little bit more. I'm going to start doing that droopy feel, and I'm just going to mark it because I want to see where it's going. You can always take the Damien Standard and kind of mark it around, right? Just make sure that it doesn't, you know, sometimes I see students doing anatomy and they just use Damien Standard for everything. They're just marking everything. It's not bad. Just make sure you go to with something else like the clay buildup or a form stuff, which is really, really kind of a more or a better way to kind of create volume and make sure that the surface combine, because just Damien Standard might look a little bit too drawn, not too natural, if that makes sense. So it's gonna be a combination of that. And I might like that there. I don't know, we'll see. I still feel like there needs to be space here, which means this is a little bit too flat. So if I go to the side, you see how there's barely any like mouth? That means it's a little bit too flat. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna either push it or I can build it. I'm gonna push it out. And just make sure that you always find references that have other views, right? Because right here, I'm only working on a few of them. But the best, because this concept, and I've done this for a while, only had one. But just make sure you always find a view with the front side, right? The side, 3/4. Mostly those three will help you out. If you find a back one, that'll be best. All of those together, that'll be the greatest. Like I said, I've done this for a while, so I kind of know how I want this to look for now. If I wasn't sure, then I would just go watch the movie, hunt him down, and kind of just adjust him. And you always have to do that, so just make sure you always have in mind that if it's missing, you might need to, and this going a little bit more up, might need to get more reference. And I'm just making a really, really just opening there, and this goes up a little bit more. And don't worry about that, because we're going to dynamesh it, and then we're going to sculpt over it. I'm just trying to get the overall shape of the opening. And that's going to be a lot of Damien Standard and a lot of, I'm trying to make a lip here, of clay buildup. And it doesn't need to be that deep. We can change it up later. It's just something that kind of gives you the sense of that. And then this is going to be a little bit way thicker here, because you see how his chin is really, really thick. And I'm going to take a look at this, and I'm going to go a little bit farther from this. Always make sure you don't stay in one view or really, really close to it. Go a little bit out, and then you'll see a few changes here and there might need to happen for him to kind of feel a little bit like him. A little bit closer. Oh, thank you. So there you go. Sorry, they were adjusting my mic. So, going back to this, I'm just seeing a few of those. Let me see if I can see some questions here on the side. I'm gonna change the clay buildup and kind of just get this out of the way. And I'm gonna leave a little bit of space for the gills for yellow at the bottom. When we kind of get to approach that, I'll talk about them more, because I was still deciding if I want to do them separate or I want to do them together. I always choose to do them separate, just because that's how I like doing things. If I ever need them to be together, then I would just push them a little bit more. And I'm gonna soften everything and kind of just adjust that. I want to make sure that the eyes look good. The separation here in the brow looks a little bit better. And I'm gonna start putting the eyes in a second. I try not to go too far to put the eyes, because I like seeing those shapes there really, really fast and quick. And they tend to look a little bit scary when you don't put the eyes. I don't know. At least to me. This is gonna be a little bit thicker later, but it's okay. I'm gonna thicken that a little bit. We're gonna do the teeth, and I just want to get, like I said, the overall shape. That might be a little bit too pointy, so I'm going to take a flatten tool, and I'm just going to BFA is the keys for that. And I'm going to just, if this happens, you can back out and then you can just do a little bit more of clay where your symmetry, or I mean your geometry breaks. You can just do that. Let me get some water. Give me a second. Okay, while I drink some water, some questions. Do you have any resources that you would recommend for learning the ZBrush program? I would say YouTube, to be honest. YouTube has great resources. Everything that I didn't learn in Full Sail, which was really, really minimal, to be honest. Most of this, I didn't have a background on 3D, which is why I joined Full Sail as a student a while ago. And everything that I learned from 3D, I learned it here because I only had like a fine arts background, associates. So I would say, yeah, YouTube, Google any question that you have. The ZBrush site also has a few videos. ArtStation also has a few videos. So it's going to be you kind of looking for whatever specific thing you want to learn and kind of just going around. Which is always good because you always want to learn, right? So just make sure to kind of ask us even if there are any specific thing that you want to learn. And be, you know, if you tell me about hair, boom, I have some videos. So it's gonna be kind of like that. Let me see if I like how it's going. I feel like the mouth is a little bit too wide now. And this is gonna be the process. It's just kind of going around, seeing what you like, what you don't like. Maybe I want to do this a little bit wider or a little bit lower so he feels like he's just not neck. I'm gonna make sure to hit control, kind of go around the head a little bit better than that, and mask that because I want to just push this a little bit to the bottom just to make him feel a little bit heavy. Remember that your reference is there to help you out, but you still have to translate certain areas of the process of creating creatures in 3D. So, another question. Could your work be manipulated and used by a human in motion capture for like a movie? Oh yeah, definitely. I know there's a little bit more of a process to that, you know. You have to create some rigs, facial rigs if it was just a bust, or just a rig overall for a character. But yeah, definitely it can be used. What differentiates from low res of a game, which it's kind of changing lately. You need you don't need a less. You can just have a lot of polygons, to be honest, especially with Unreal Engine and everything kind of coming out. Sorry, I was focusing on the mouth. I was like, maybe it looks a little bit too gapey now. Okay, but yes, you can definitely use those for that. 100%. It's just gonna, like I said, you're gonna need other processes to kind of get it to that. Because right now, what I'm doing right here would be something just sculpted. If I want to rig it facially, yeah, I can totally use it for that. Want to do like an animated movie of the monster? Yeah. I hope that answered your question. Another question. Is this a type of class we take in game art online degree? Yes! You're gonna have a few classes and you will have some ZBrush, definitely. Most of it. Gonna be your game characters class and your advanced game characters classes. Portfolio stuff that you might want to do. If you decide to do the character track. But yeah, definitely. Or the character, let me see. There you go. We're gonna do some teeth, maybe. No, let's put the eyes. So, I still feel like the head is a little bit short, and we can notice it when I go to the side. This right here feels way too short. But yes, the answer is yes. You will definitely take ZBrush in the game art class. In the game art bachelor's degree. And this seems still so short. Like I said, I want to make sure that all the way around the sculpt feels proper, you know? So we're gonna just put this around. Feels a little bit too deep in here, but it's okay. I'm gonna widen that out. And for the head, I really was thinking of which kind of shape to get, because I know they made 2 shapes and you can see it here. Like there's one that's really, really oval shape, and then this one's a little bit more round square shape. I think I'm gonna go for the round square shape. And like I said, this is you kind of deciding what you want to do and how do you want to make your character feel. If after you do it, it doesn't feel good, then change it. That's the best thing. Nothing is sacred. Nothing is forever. Except maybe diamonds, but I don't know about that. But yeah. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna line up some things again, because I feel like this brow could be bigger, and this here is a little bit better. And I'm gonna line up additive on my mouth, just because I want to line it up a little bit to have a little bit more contrast between his face and the other one. Maybe I want it to be the main focus, so we'll see how that goes. I'm gonna take clay buildup and I'm just gonna go around fatten this up a little bit more because it feels really, really thick. If it feels a little bit too gapey here, what I tend to do is I take a move tool, I mask that area, and I just push it. You know, make sure you mask it better than I did, but just push it like that, kind of widen at it. I think that's way better. So now I'm going to put the eyes, because I've been a little bit too long without putting the eyes, and which is not normal for me, to be honest. But so I have another question. Have you tried the drawing tablets with built-in screens? Yes, I love those. Here at Full Sail, we have a few labs or classrooms that have the Cintiqs, and they're like massive. They're like, I don't know if you can see it, but they're way bigger than me. And I love those. So yes, I have. So if you come here to Full Sail, definitely you'll see those in there and you'll get excited because they're really nice. They're really, really nice. Like I said, I think the Huion one tablet that I was talking about, I tried it. It was good too. So yes, I do prefer those, to be honest. But once you get used to both of them, you can use whichever. There's no, at least for me, there's no real preference on that. Like if I can get like a big Cintiq or a big Huion, you know, screen, I would be like, yes. Okay, maybe I'm just gonna add that there. So now, adding the eyes, or adding any subtool that you want to do, or shape that you want to do. We're gonna go to subtool. We're gonna go to append, and we're gonna choose a sphere. Original is gonna be in the center. Make sure you have your sphere. Symmetry off, because if you have it on, obviously it might break it, which is not doing it now. And it's interesting, but sometimes it just breaks it. So I'm gonna have it off for now, and then we're gonna use the mirror and weld and kind of just put it to the side. For the size of the eyeball, I do it by eye because I've done it so many times. But about that size, it's a good start. Just make sure you try it out. I measure it by putting it in the head, seeing how it looks with my concept. Maybe it might be a little bit too big. And if you want, to be honest, go to Photoshop, throw your reference in there, do an eyeball, and kind of just measure how many eyeballs from side to side would be. Maybe one here, and one here, which is the standard. Maybe if you're doing a creature that's a little bit more wide, we'll need more. So just kind of make sure you're always analyzing your reference, not just going nilly-willy. So I'm gonna do it there. I'm gonna rotate it slightly to that position, and I'm gonna see around there. It's where I want it. So when I put the eyeball for now. Might change later. I'm going to go to Mirror and Weld and just hit Mirror and Weld. And that's why I have it there. It's great. So from here, I'm going to take a Damien sander and I'm going to slightly indent this. Make sure you always Dynamesh so the geometry kind of just repairs itself in a way or gives you more geometry. And I'm going to kind of just create a little bit of an eyelid. And this is going to be, you see how it's kind of breaking? When I'm going to this, that's why I left it for the end a little bit more. I'm going to need a little bit slightly more geometry because I don't want it to break too much. You can always do it with this, like this. Be like, oh, I want that. But you see how it breaks the shape that I did? This is when you know you have to kind of move on from that resolution, or at least that's how I do it. I'm going to go to geometry and kind of pump that up a little bit. And I don't have a specific number. I just tested. Do I like it? Yes. So now I pumped it out to 80. So you see how now we have a better shape, clear. This is what I want. This is not at all perfect, but it's a nice start. It's a nice start to those eyelids. We have another question. When you are able to focus and get into the work, about how long does it take to complete a sculpture? That's a good question. So how long does it take me if I'm focused? I will let you know when it happens. To be honest, because there's always something that kind of I'm not focused. Either let me get some coffee, or which is not bad, to be honest. I do take breaks, and make sure you always take breaks, because sometimes you start seeing your work and it's like you don't see what's going on wrong with it because you've been looking at it too much. And this is going to be a little bit tight there, so I'm just going to create a slight fake eyelid and just push it in there a little bit more. Just really, his eyelids are really interesting. They're really open and creepy, so I'm trying to do that. So now we have a really basic start, right? I do like to always have everything blocked out, and I'm going still a little bit too far right now, so before putting the teeth in and everything. So I'm gonna do that. We're gonna put some teeth in him, because you should always, in primary shapes, you should always have everything blocked out and then change them later if you need to, because it's looking, not like you want to. So we're gonna go to append, and we're gonna create, let's do a cone 3D, why not? The cone 3D still is always so low res, but it's okay. So I'm going to slightly scale it, make sure my symmetry is on it, or it's like, perfectly done there. Because it came in really low, I have two options. I either kind of just smooth it out and kind of have that shape nicely like that, take a move tool and kind of just shape it to whatever tooth shape I want. That's what I do. If I need more resolution, I go here, Dynamesh it, and then Dynamesh it a little bit, not so high. Then maybe that's it. Maybe I need a little bit more, but for now, this is fine. So I'm gonna do a slight bent on them because I see that they're really slightly bent, right? So I'm just gonna slightly do that on this guy. And I'm just using a big move tool. There's a lot of deformers on the side that you can use. You go here to the right side, under deformation. There's a few, the skew, flatten, twist, taper. There's a bend somewhere there. You can use those too. I don't personally do it. Depends, to be honest, but I'm gonna flatten this a little bit. And then we're gonna go here and place this guy here. And I do tend to count them. He has like 3 on the top side. 7. Okay, cool. So make sure if you have things like this to kind of count them, because I've noticed also students just see teeth and they just like go crazy. They're like 20 teeth and the guy had only like 5. So count them Try to get them as close. Oh, you see that? You see how it broke? Symmetry. Make sure you don't have symmetry on these guys to kind of place them there. They're gonna be asymmetrical because asymmetrical because this is just a sculpt to kind of just pose it and kind of make it look cool. You would create it a little bit more on the symmetrical side at first, and then like I said, at the end kind of just change symmetry if it's easier for you. But you will learn this while you kind of go through the experience a little bit more. I don't know if I like that teeth there. And I might need to shape this a little bit more. Oh, I always should. There you go. So, a few questions on the side. Let me see when you're. I critique my work like crazy and end up starting over. Did you ever have that issue? Yes, I do. And to be honest, it's okay. It's okay to start over. Like, I've realized that myself. Sometimes I pick certain references and I'm like, yo, I love this. I want to do this. And then I start doing it and I'm like, I don't know how this is going. I don't know how this is going. I don't like this. I don't like this. And then, yes, I do scrap them over and I start them over. And that's okay. You know, it's good practice for you. So I think that might be a little bit too deep in there, but it's okay. I was trying just to do a lip. So yes, it happens. Yes, it's okay to do that and do it as much as you can. That's good practice. Your eye is kind of getting the information every time you do it. It's repetition, you know, practice is good. So yeah, if you have to start over your sculpt, do it. Of course, make sure that it's not like something for work or anything, because then you will be probably in trouble. But if you have to do it as long as you get to the result that you want at the end. And I'm trying to see, this goes a little bit deeper, and you see how I just kind of go around from the eye to the side of the head. You see how there's barely any space? So that means that this needs to be a little bit more wider. And like I said, it happens. If it needs to be more wider, I'm going to create more whiteness. And I'm trying to look at it because the light is kind of hitting me. There you go. There you go. Somewhere there. A little bit more wide from here to here. And this is the temporal part of your head. And then I'm going to soften that. Maybe see how it looks and kind of just go around it so it doesn't look so sharp like I said before. I'm going to flatten that out, but it doesn't matter right now. As long as this is not looking wobbly. That's better. So another question. What's your favorite go-to monster or creature to sculpt? Oh, that's a good question. Of creature. Last year I did also a Halloween stream for the same Halloween week for here, Full Sail. I did a demon kind of fairy evil thing. That was fun. So I would say those type of creatures, like fairies, like evil looking fairies, kind of trolls too. Those are fun. Mostly those, to be honest. I still haven't done a wolf, so I might try that this year, to be honest. I see a lot of my students do it, and I'm like, oh, that does look cool, but I'm a vampire girl. I love vampires. Anyways. But yeah, I would say kind of demon fairy-like things. And I might adjust this a little bit. He looks a little bit too happy. This guy on the image looks a little bit too grumpy. So let's give him a little bit more grumpiness. That could be achieved by kind of giving him a little bit more right here. He's already looking mad. And a little bit more deepness here. And it's going to be a little bit rounder. He has a lot of brow. So let's go with that. The head still is giving me issues where I don't feel like he has enough head at the top. So you know what? Let's do this. You know what? And this is what this is another exercise that I do, guys. I just duplicate my model, make sure the other one's not visible, the original one. And I go here and I'm like, okay, what do I want to change? That I don't like how it's looking. In this case, it's going to be the head. And it's fine if it looks super extreme from the side. We can just average that later. But I want to make sure that I'm not just focused on a tiny skull, you know, or not wide enough. And from there, what I do is I just compare these two. I turn this one not visible. You see how he has a flatter head, and this one has a little bit more of a head. Maybe I want an in between those two. So I kind of just push this down a little bit more. This is the process, just kind of seeing what you like, what you don't like, and kind of adjusting it to how it's going on in 3D, you know. So another question. On the tablet stylus, what nibs do you prefer, regular or felt? Both are fine to me. Like, there's no, I don't hate either of them. But I just use the regulars. On my other tablet, the Sense Expend one, I do have the felt one, so no issue with me on that. Oh, ZBrush is saving. There you go. Oh, yep, ZBrush is saving. I'm gonna also save. I'm gonna just save over that. Is it crucial to be good at anatomy when working in ZBrush? Yes. You don't have to be good. You just have to know anatomy. Does that make sense? Because let's say you were gonna do this, and I'm doing a few changes in his skull, like you can see. If you're not good at it, it might not look as readable or real or natural. So I would say yes. You would have to at least have some knowledge of anatomy. It doesn't have to be like, oh my god, I'm the best anatomy artist out there, but just overall know anatomy. So you know that when you approach something like this, you are not, okay, I can change this nose to make it look like this. I can change my eyes to make it look like this. Maybe the skull shape, like I was, you know, just know of anatomy. And my eyes are looking a little bit too gapey, so I'm gonna have to create that a little bit more. Taking the main standard. You want to make sure that the eyes always are a little tight to the eyeball. You don't want any kind of gaps. Oh yeah, this is not visible. So something that I did forget to mention, and I will mention it now because now that I'm not feeling the click, it was weird. So I'm gonna go to preferences, and I'm gonna go to, I believe is edit. Under edit, there's allow to click solo. So I'm just gonna click that. It felt kind of weird. I was like, why is it weird? So what this does is, you see how I click and it just focuses on whatever subtool I have currently. This has been a savior, because let's say I want to now fix the eyes, I can just click, it will solo the head by itself, and then I'm just gonna put this around, kind of shape them without the eyes being in the way, which is what I was kind of running to. And I'm gonna move the eyes again. If your eyes move like this, you see how that's looking? They're moving together, and you wanna move them separate. You gotta relocate the pivot, hit your symmetry, and now it will let you do it separate. And I just wanna make sure I kind of put them a little bit more to the side. And it looks a little bit too dark in that eye area, so I might need to go around and kind of look for another reference. But just like I said, make sure that it's a little bit round, and if they look too bulged into the side, just kind of get them a little bit in. I feel like his eyes are a little bit flat, and I might need to adjust them a little bit. But yeah, so just to start, remember that we're working on the block out, right? So nothing needs to be perfect. This is just kind of just putting everything out there. How long does it take to create a full body design? So the job of a 3D artist is to just, right, translate whatever designs you find online. So, or whatever design your company has that they want you to do on your job, or, you know, if you like a reference and you kind of want to do that. So it depends obviously on whatever reference you picked, on your skill. There you go. Yeah, there you go. So it just like depends. There's no specific one. If you were doing something for a game, then it depends on the timeline they have. It might be you only have a week, or it might be you have a month, or it might be you have 6 months, which is typically, I know that the Valorant characters tend to kind of take a little bit. So it just depends, like I said, skill wise, time wise, what they want you to do, etc. So I'm gonna start putting the folds in here just to kind of see where everything is going. He looks a little bit more angry, there you go. And then his eyes are still bothering me because they feel too human. That means that I gotta change it, right? I'm gonna make him a little bit rounder. And I think that's better. He looks a little bit surprised, but we can change that later. I'm going to mask the eye, and I'm just gonna put a little bit more clay in here. I'm gonna get closer to that because there you go, that's better. So. That's better. So I'm going to just start placing the teeth really where I can see them. Doesn't need to be maybe one there. If you hit control and you click and drag on your gizmo, you will automatically duplicate. So this is what I do a lot. I just do one, kind of just shape the other one that I want. And I'm starting right here on this one. Maybe the other one's a little bit bigger. And then I'm gonna click that again. We can barely see the third one. And I'm just gonna start putting them. And they're not in the position that I want right now. We can move them later. It's okay. From there, what I do is I go to the other side. I can mirror in well, to be honest, and kind of move them. Or I can just go here and just kind of and move them. There's no specificness on how to do this. It's just kind of just putting them there wherever you want. I might move them, like I said, later because they're too in the lip, not in the gums. So I'm gonna do that later in a second. And these ones are a little bit too tiny, so I'm going to exaggerate them a little bit so we can see them in 3D. If not, they're just gonna be like tiny teeth and they're gonna get lost. Just make sure you kind of change the position on them a little bit more. And I'm just gonna do 3 on this side. And there's 4 on the other one. So I'm gonna push this in a little bit so you can't barely see it. And it's fine for now because we're just trying to put them in there, right? If they're, like I said, 2 in or 2 out, I'm just gonna push them. And this is where the BMT, which is my, right here, let me move topology tool comes in. So how the move topology tool, how I use it is in teeth and other things too, you know, lashes, everything that has a lot of pieces that I need to move each one separate, but they're under one subtool. So I'm going to shift F. This is going to show me my polygrouping colors. So what I do with this right now, everything is kind of one color. I don't want that because then they will all move together. What I want to do is I want to go to poly groups right here on the right side, auto groups, and that will just create another, each one will have their own color. So now when I use the topology tool, the move tool, each one will move separate. If I use the normal move tool, all of them move together. So that's the difference between those two tools. And I like I said, I like this one because I'm like, okay, maybe this is a little bit too showy. I'm going to put this here. Maybe it needs to bend more. I'm going to put that there. And I might need some gums, to be honest, because I don't like how that's looking there, but for now, that's okay. They're just kind of looking like floaty. Shift F again to kind of get out of the poly group fill mode. And I'm going to start rounding things out. This is where I start putting the actual shapes that I see. You see how there's like slightly thinness here and it kind of goes a little bit wide. So this is where I'm going to start doing that. Let me do another set of teeth. So for that, let me see if this works out. This is a test. So I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to relocate the pivot and I'm just going to put them right there. Make them a little bit bigger. Gosh, that was a little bit too big, but it's okay. I'm going to take the selection that we did earlier, and I'm just going to select this one because that's like an extra. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I might need that one. 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 7. Yeah, I do. So I'm just going to move them around. And because that one's so far away, I'm going to mask these guys. And I'm going to move these guys first. And I'm just working with both of them at the same time, but one it's masked, one it's not. And that's where I might actually just move them a little bit in. This might change later, to be honest. I don't know if I like the positioning on them there. But for now, remember, we're just blocking it out. It's moving the whole thing, so I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna select that, mask it, select this one, mask it, and then there you go. Shift Control will bring back whatever you selected. So Shift Control and click on the canvas will bring back whatever it's selected. And then from there, I'm gonna adjust these guys, and they're like in a little bit. That last one is annoying me, to be honest. I might just delete it. You know what? Delete hidden. There you go. It was annoying me. It had to be fixed too much, and it's okay to just use the same one that we have on the side. And I actually like how they're kind of like crooked. I might keep that. But just there. And I might actually keep that. I do like that. But not all of them, just a few of them. And they're like in an arch, and it's fine. So we have another question. Do you need a separate software to apply color like Photoshop? First. You don't need to. There's something called Polypaint in ZBrush, and you definitely, I can show you a little bit later. You definitely don't need to like put in Photoshop. You can and kind of just play around with that, or Substance Painter, which is what we use here. But you have many options, you know. You have Substance, you can go the hand-painted way, a little bit more Photoshop. You can go, you know, Polypaint, and they just throw that in like a renderer. You can also render it here with the BPR render button right here on the top. So, you know, a lot of options, but yes and no. Like, you know, I can be here in ZBrush and do it here, or I can just throw it somewhere else. It just depends on whatever the end result I kind of want to have. Okay, so back to this. We need to get a little bit more ahead. And I'm gonna make this a little bit less. He has very, very flat cheekbones, but still protruding because you can see it right here on the side. How that silhouette changes a lot. So that means this is going a lot in here. So when we go to that same position, right? Remember? They were trying to get to that same position. We see right here the protruding of the bone. So don't forget to get into that position. I don't like this. This might go a little bit in. And then when we create the folds, then those will kind of get filled in there. It won't look that gapey. Boom. There you go. So I'm just going to go around the lips again, which are the center of the piece, I would say. The lips are going to be the center of it. I'm going to add more weight to the corners because it feels very, very... And it's right here, in this corner right here. So it's going to be a lot of separating that from the actual bottom of the mouth and kind of creating that contrast there. There you go. Nope. B, C, B. There you go. Nope, nope. Okay, cool. Went crazy. It went crazy. It's okay. It happens. So from there, we're starting to see something coming up, right? We still have the gills to kind of play with and moving things around after that. So I'm going to start the gills. What I was thinking was do this. So what I would do is I'm gonna go show my gills and take a lasso masking tool and kind of just mask it like that and see if that worked out for me. But I'm trying to see which one would be the better way, because even if, let's say, I go and append, right, we can take a cube. Like I said, different ways for different things. I can take a cube and I can just do this. Still make sure it has a little bit of thickness so it's not like super thin. And kind of just place it there. And I'm just only gonna do one. I'm not gonna do all of them. Smooth them out so it's a little bit less edgy. And I might do that. Rotate it so it's not so straight. And you start seeing what I'm seeing, right? Still might be a little bit too thin, to be honest. I think I went a little bit overboard. So I'm just gonna slowly go around and kind of just inflate it with the inflate tool, BIN. So I'm just gonna, and now they're super inflated, but it's okay. Because once I start putting the detail in there and the correct position on them, which is, we have our end of our mouth, which is right here. And I'm gonna fix that because you see how it goes like that. Boom. And then this would be bottom of the mouth right here, which I'm gonna just do a little bit of fat in there. But you see how you start adding other certain tools or parts into your model, and then you start putting everything back to where it should be because you have some other points of references to what you already have there. So from there, we're gonna put this in here, and I'm just gonna slightly shape. We're doing the tiny one, by the way. We're doing the tiny gill part. And I'm gonna take a Damien Standard and kind of just flatten it with a big thing. You see how it kind of indented there? That's what I want. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be, there you go. There. Shaped. Whoop. Then we go here, and then we taper it slightly, and now we have a gill. Like I said, you can start from masking and kind of push it out. You can have it on your character and be together with it. Like, it doesn't need to be separate. It's just I prefer it separate. If in the future I want it together, then I just merge them together. So we have another question. What is the difference between game art and computer animation? So game art, they both have like characters, to be honest, because my best friend was in computer animation when I went through the degree. So they do have characters if you're interested in characters specifically. Just make sure to look at the site and it will tell you the different classes, because it's like a few classes they change, and here and there. Obviously game art has more games involved in, right? More engine wise, but like I said, I'm not sure 100% what is the difference between them because I didn't go through the computer animation side. But do make sure to contact Full Sail or to go through the site and they will let you know. Like, I'm pretty sure in admissions there's somebody that can help you, okay? There you go. Cool. That's okay. That's okay for now. Let's move on from that. Gill. Maybe a little bit. There you go. We still have to create the back ones, and I'm just gonna create this one good-ish into a good spot, right? And I might need to dynamesh it because it's probably not. So go to geometry. Each subtool has their own, you know, if it's dynamesh, if it's subdivision levels, it has their own configuration. So I'm gonna go dynamesh this, and 120 might be a little bit too much because you see that nice, ooh, that's a nice crease. This, I'm just doing it right now for the sake of kind of knowing where they're at. I might do an alpha later, which is like a white and black and white image that kind of gives me the information that I want. If I have like gill shapes, then I would just click and drag, and I can show you that really quick here. So the brush has an alpha, it's right here, and we can change it. Let's say that maybe this one might work for that. Right now, the current one to draw on, it's dots, so it would be a little bit weird. So let's just change this right here, the stroke, to drag rectangle. And let's see what it does. Ooh, you see how it's pushing those alpha shapes in there? Actually, that might work. I'm gonna do a bigger one so it changes the shape silhouette of it overall, and then I might do tiny ones to do the same thing but less. Ooh, but you see that? It's not pushing as much as I would want. Let me see. Ooh, that's a little bit too extreme. So, you know, just make sure you kind of test it. I do like that though. You can adjust it always later. But that kind of worked out. Maybe that kind of goes out. Some go in. Might be a little bit too much. I might smooth it out. Take shape again. But that works out there. Make sure to go back to the brush and kind of reset that. So you can do it there, or you can go brush, reset current brush, and that will just reset it. Ooh, that's a little bit too intense. I moved the intensity, so that's a little bit too intense. But yeah, kind of like let's something like that to just start, right? Nothing to set in stone. It might be a little bit weird looking, but it's just to kind of point it out in there to get the primary shapes of it. And I might not like that too much, so I might need to go in slightly and kind of just go in and out a little bit more. It just depends on how you work or how the result is kind of looking for you to change. So let's see other questions that we may have. Do you ever get artist block when trying to create something original? Uh, yes. I do draw too, so that happens a lot when I draw. Like I said, not too much in the 3D side, just because our job is to translate things, right? From a concept artist job, who is kind of drawing the design, to us kind of translated the design. So it doesn't happen as much in the 3D side, but I know when I'm drawing, yes, 100% happens, so I do understand that. I would suggest take a break. Take a break from it. Kind of look at something else. Like if you're doing, let's say, Mario and Luigi, I don't know. Look at something different from that style. Look at artist jobs, or pieces of work. Other artists, like, to get inspiration from that. Try to do something different than just focusing on that specific thing when you're kind of blocked, if that makes sense. Go drink some coffee, go on a vacation, I don't know. Just have something on the side that kind of relaxes your mind. Look for other inspirations, like I was saying, other artists or other references. I think that will help out. And I've been there, like I said, so I just most of the time sleep. That's my unblockedness. I go sleep, I play games. So yeah, just make sure you divide your time. You don't want to go a little bit too overboard with the games, right? So, and not do your work. Just make sure you manage your time and you look for something different to do. Maybe do sports, or maybe go exercise at the gym. So there you go. It's still looking a little bit too... So let me see the overall reference again. I think it's going in the right direction. Still a few things that we might change, but for now, I'm gonna keep these skills. I'm just gonna duplicate those for the sake of kind of just getting this a little bit more complete. The blockout face, the blockout face doesn't have any specific timing. As long as you have everything in there. Obviously, if you have a time crunch, you should do this as fast as you can, but just make sure you are doing it well and correctly. You don't want to have to go back a lot of times, right? If it's not practice. If it's practice, it's fine. Get some water again, because thirsty. So one of the other questions is, what's the difference between ZBrush and Sculptress? So I'm not sure if there's a program out there that's called Sculptress, but I know there's a part in ZBrush that it's called Sculptress. I believe. I don't tend to use it very often. It should be they're right here. So at the top where I'm marking right now, it says activate Sculptress Pro. It's very similar to ZBrush. To Dynamesh, to be honest. Same concept, except Sculptress, it's more focused. So when Dynamesh just fills the entire model with geometry, Sculptress does it per part. So if you were going to add a horn to this guy with Sculptress, it would just do it in that specific area, in the horn. It wouldn't do it overall, filling the model. I believe that's the difference. Like I said, I don't tend to use it because I kind of just started with ZBrush, and not ZBrush, Dynamesh, gosh. With Dynamesh. So it kinda, that's the way I do it. But I'm pretty sure both of them will get you the same result. It's just like I said, one's more focused, the other one isn't. The other one's just overall. I hope that answers your question. And it's right here at the top, so right there. Now that I'm doing this, I'm just gonna put it on the side. Whoop! And I'm gonna make sure that I save. Make sure you always save. I do quick saves at the top right here. That goes under Lightbox and then quick saves, and it quick saves them right there if you see them. And I also just do a normal save just in case, because this might fail sometimes. I've seen it fail sometimes. And you don't want to kind of go back to doing your work again from the beginning. So from here, I might adjust some things in the mouth again, because I still, there, perfect. It's more, you see how it's more pinched at the top and a little bit more wide. Things that you start seeing when you, after you start putting everything in there. So I'm gonna do the gills on the side. I'm just gonna copy and paste. So if you see this right here, whoop, this is the old tool that we used to use before the gizmo. Gizmo is this one. This one is the transpose tool. You change it by pressing Y while being in the tool. And to be honest, you only use this one for example, if I'm doing a whole character and I'm gonna be like posing, or like let's say this arm is a little bit too small or it's weirdly in a position. So what I do is I kind of just use the transpose tool like that. From the joint to the end of my hand, I use the tool and I just move it like that because it's way easier with that tool than the gizmo, for me at least, because these little circles are pivots. So you can just move those pivots, conjoining with the joints, space areas. So just kind of adding that there because it appeared, because I apparently hit Y. So right now I'm gonna relocate right here my mesh that I'm using, and I'm doing not that one but this one. To change between meshes, press Alt and just click on them and it will change automatically instead of you having to go to the subtool palette here inside. I'm gonna go here and I'm just gonna copy and paste like we did earlier with this, and then just make it slightly bigger, a little bit bigger. Now I'm gonna change 100% how the gills are looking in the sense of the edges that I have, so maybe I might do that. I don't know. Let's see how it kind of goes around. Taking a move tool and I'm just slightly moving it around, kind of making this a little bit shorter here. So I might just soften that, push it in, kind of just reshape that. I'm taking, because I can barely see the gill from the bottom, I'm taking the same shape as the gill from the top and kind of just slightly adjusting it. So it keeps also consistency and it doesn't look like really, really weird. Or not part from it. Or part of it. And it doesn't matter if the lines aren't the same. Just as the shape, it's kind of looking similar to it. And they're a little bit bent, I noticed. I'm gonna use a little bit of the pinch tool here to kind of just pinch that, which is BPI. And they are slightly bent, so I'm gonna push them out or down a little bit to kind of just push that geometry. You see how it's pushing it? And then I'm gonna adjust that again. And I might just leave it there for now, just because I want to kind of move on from that. Might go a little bit back. I'm gonna go here and see how it overall it looks. I'm gonna put a little bit more to the back. And then kind of just keep it there for now. And then we're gonna do the third one. And I might not like that too much, so I'm just gonna take this and kind of just cut out some of it. And that's fine, because remember we're gonna dynamesh and it will close up. Might not like that bent feel that they have, so I'm gonna kind of cut it out like that and then dynamesh again. When you duplicate things, they will still be in the same subtool. So if you want them to be separate, then you have to kind of just turn them into different polygroup colors and then split them. You can go here to split, and it will either split hidden or group split if you have different colors, polygroup colors. These have been awesome questions, by the way, guys. Very, very, very on point. I hope that I could answer them well enough. If not, like I said, let us know. We'll get you the information. Might look at that, and now that I notice he's very wide, right? So I might add that wideness instead of just keeping him like that. So I'm gonna go here and either stretch this out down, give him a little bit more of a neck, because he feels very, very not necky. Just keep him like that, because I actually want to do a nice bust of this. I totally missed out on bringing the 3D print from last year's Sculpt, but next time I will, don't worry. To show you guys how that turned out. I'm just gonna do basic anatomy on the back. You know, nothing too serious for now. It's looking fine from the side, to be honest. I like the placement of the bone structure that I did in the face, right here in the cheekbone area. I like how the mouth is kind of coming over like that. I like that. I might change the position instead of going like up, going down. But I do like it right now, so I don't know. Let's try it out, like I said. Let's instead kind of go take a move tool and kind of just move it out like that. Kind of just round it out. But you see how this kind of goes really, really too much? That means that doesn't have that shape too much. So we need to bring it back down, because this here seems really, really round and flat on the concept. And the lips line, I'm not too worried about it, because as long as we still have the shape, we can always either line it up with some texturing or just go here and kind of in the tertiary detail phase of this, just kind of line it up a little bit more. Because it's not too intense, you know, it's not such a big change or anything. I'm trying to get that. Let me go closer to this, because there you go. I always try to follow the lines that you see. So if you see that this is kind of going like that on the mouth, on the nose area, try to get that same shape. That will round out your shapes way better. It will make it feel like it's flowing and it's volumized at the same time. So just make sure you kind of follow that, especially here in the cheekbone on mine. You see how they're going down? I'm trying to get that to just smooth out so it doesn't look so raw. And instead of smoothing it out, I want to add clay first, and then maybe smooth it out and see if it doesn't lose all that. So we have one fin, we have the other one. I'm gonna do a really, really quick, just few lines in there, like I said. Maybe a little bit thinner, yeah. On it. I'm not gonna be too specific with it yet. I might go a little bit more intense with it in the secondary phase of them, but right now we're still just trying to put them in there. Okay, from there, I'm just gonna, let's say we like those fins, right? I'm gonna bend them again slightly. I might actually merge them later because I don't know if I like the line that they're creating there, but it's okay. As long as I do this and I start seeing that fin a little bit more, that's good. This one has a lot of space right there. I'm gonna pull it up slightly. There you go. Cool. So from here, I'm going to just adjust it a little bit more. Don't worry about the bottom yet. I can just fix it when I start putting the symmetry on. Because like I said, I like to see everything in there, how they look. This is just the basics. I'm just gonna put them in there. Maybe I don't like the shape. Maybe I don't like this. Maybe I don't like that. But now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take this, mirror and weld it so we have it on both sides. And now I can see the overall picture of it. Like, maybe it looks a little bit too sharp. They look too sharp for me. So I'm gonna go here and I'm just gonna make sure you have symmetry on. And then kind of just go there around, kind of move it around. That would be the way to go. Maybe I don't like the shape, how they feel like butterflies from the side. Then take a move tool and kind of just move them around. Make sure you take the, let me see, there you go. This one might be a little bit too big. Yeah, that's the process. And this is just, again, putting everything in there. So let me see. Another question. Do you hold your pen with your buttons on the side or on the top? So you made me think about that. I was like, wait, do I? I don't use them, to be honest. So you see how I'm picking them up? Like right here. I'm gonna say if in the camera you can see it. I don't tend to use them, but I use them like down, so where it doesn't affect me if I click them. If you use them, then put them on the side for your thumb. That's the easiest. If I were to use them, I would just do it on the side for the thumb. But I never do, so you made me think about that. I was like, wait, do I do? No, I don't. I hope that answered your question. I do none on the bottom, I guess. All this here, don't worry about it, because when we start texturing this is just gonna go darker, like a darker shade. Like I said, I might add a little bit of a somewhat gum in here, just because it looks a little bit odd for me without like those gums in there, and I made them a little bit too far. But does that make sense of what what I'm saying? Just looks too, even though we're not gonna see them. Make sure to go always Dynamesh again. But something there that feels, even if you don't see it here, when we, you see when we render, do a quick render, you don't see them, but still, they kind of look good if you were gonna take other shots, not just like floating teeth. So that's also something you might have to think of in certain designs that you might find. Not just copying the design into 3D, but actually making it functional and realistic in a way. And then same at the bottom. Some kind of something there. And I can go way deeper on that, but it doesn't matter. I'm gonna smooth everything in there. And I'm going to make his lips a little bit meaty, because they feel very meaty. So from here, let me see. Maybe some next stuff, and that's it. So from here, we are going to finish our primary shapes of it. And I would say primary, secondary, to be honest. I kind of went into a little bit into secondary. But just letting you know that this is where I start refining things. And I'm just kind of adding a little bit of a fat fold at the bottom, because he has very thin ones too, so I might actually pinch them. When you're using the pinching tool, make sure that you don't go crazy with it. You see how that's going crazy with it? If you kind of just go all the way. Make sure you're going on a tapping motion, because it will bend your geometry, especially if you kind of just did retopologize your model. It will bend it like crazy. So just make sure you're tapping on it a little bit more. I might get a little bit more of a different, let me see, a little bit of a jowl there. I like that. And then kind of break it up. And all these breakup, to be honest, I would just do it on my secondary, tertiary detail stuff, because I'm just putting the volume here, but I want to make sure that that detail is not lost when I dynamesh, which most of the time will happen. If you dynamesh, and like I said, you're doing certain details and your dynamesh is not working with you in the sense of it's just breaking everything, just don't be afraid to kind of go a little bit higher. Just don't go too crazy where you can barely smooth out those details. It has to be an in-between. I can smooth them out and they're not breaking, if that makes sense. I hope it does. And then I'm just gonna leave it there for now, because it doesn't need to be too extreme on the bottom. I'm gonna add the heaviness, and I'm gonna check the teeth again. And this is now me rounding things out. Just rounding things out, seeing where specific areas I want to adjust a little bit more finer detail. Not tertiary finer detail, but shape-wise. I like that nice jowl feel that it has at the bottom, so I might actually increase that a little bit more. And kind of make sure that it feels heavy, because it could be there, but if it doesn't feel heavy, that's going to be a lot of moving kind of down and kind of masking this and kind of just getting that a little bit down there to get that nice crease. You know, it's going to be a lot of that. I'm going to go to the side view and I'm just going to take a look at what things I might change from this. And I'm going to do the same thing we did from here, because you see how I like comparing things, how it was going to how it's kind of growing into. That's why I like, to do some duplicates. Like, okay, this is where I was at. Am I liking the change? I do another duplicate. Okay, it's going well. It still could be a little bit more wider in perspective. So what I'm gonna do from here to here, and you see how adding the neck makes him feel a little bit more wide too. Like he has more than just like a bust. But yeah, a head. Yes. So from here, I'm gonna do what we did before. I'm just gonna do another duplicate. And like I said, I notice he's really wide from this angle here. So I'm gonna try to kind of adjust it a little bit. And that's gonna be a lot of me moving things around like this. Because now I'm comparing the angle of the mouth to the angle of the corner of the gill. So from there, I'm gonna go to the back, and I'm just gonna see what happens when I do this. Because now I'm trying to get the gill here, and because we don't have the gill at the back, which I totally missed, let's do that now. And it happens, that's why make sure you always put everything in there first. Am I gonna do this, or am I just gonna do one? Yeah, I'm gonna just do one. This is when I told you guys that if you want to duplicate that, we're going to polygroups, auto group it. I'm going to select one of these. I am going to duplicate this first. Or you can do, it will duplicate both. And now I'm going to delete hidden of the duplicate. So we'll just delete the one that we had selected. And that one is the one that I'm going to bring back. And because we have symmetry on, it will do it on both sides. So that's perfect. And this one on the back, it's gonna be a little bit weird. So his eye is right around here, and then kind of the star kind of goes right around here. So I'm gonna approximate it there on the positioning on that. And I'm going to duplicate it down again, angle it out so it feels a little bit more wide. And it's gonna look weird. It's gonna look like a dumpling, but it's okay. We're just gonna adjust it slightly. And like I said, maybe if I don't like, let's say that you don't like the gills that are here right now, then you delete them and then you create new gills. Sometimes I have to do that a lot with if I'm doing ears or hands. What I tend to do a lot is I do another scene. So I do another scene, I just focus on my hands, I just focus on my ears, and then I just bring it back to the scene that I was working on. It's weird, but it has helped me get a little bit more perspective on the certain areas of the body that I kind of want to make better. Sometimes when I used to do them together with my head or my body or whatever, they felt weird. They didn't feel complete fast enough, or they didn't feel like they belonged to the body, or it was like harder for me to kind of push out from the body. So just make sure you're always kind of analyzing which one's better for you. If you're, an adder like me, I add stuff, or if you push things out of the shapes. Make sure to kind of just think about that in the future. Cool. So I'm just going to put them there, just going to place them there, like, happy little gills. Happy little dumpling gills, it's okay. They might need to be better merged into that, so I might just kind of just take a Damien standard, and you see how I'm breaking the edge a little bit, so it kind of just blends into the head. You can do that too. Doesn't need to be perfect. You could have even little strokes of it, but it will feel a little bit more blended than this does. So I might actually do that to this. I think that's what it might actually be missing. Some kind of blending-ish. There you go. A little bit break up on that super, extreme line there. I'm gonna flatten them again. Ooh, you know what? I might try this. Let's try the weave tool. Ooh, that's better. Yes. So the weave tool, BW, it's just great. It's very literally how it says. It's weaving pattern. You see how it kind of just has that weaving pattern. I would kind of high resolution this a little bit more so it doesn't look so crunchy. So I might just leave them like that. And then when I go to my tertiary detail, I will just try the weave tool, because I feel like I'm not happy with these lines too much. That's okay. It happens. Let me go to this one and unhide that one, because I totally forgot I hid that one. And this is just starting to pull everything together. And I might connect this a little bit here in the back, depending on how I like this fin to bend or not. And I should be just moving one at a time instead of both. There you go. I don't know. I like that kind of flaring out a little bit, so let's flare them out. Okay, cool. So we have everything in there to kind of just take a look at and adjust if we need to. We did widen this a little bit more, and I feel like it feels way better. I'm going to do a little bit more fat here. Start adjusting the side of the head with the flattening. And this is the process just to, get started with your sculpts, to be honest. Like I said, it differs. It might take longer, it might take less. And I'm just putting some anatomy around so he doesn't feel so flat on the side, because I feel like that's what's kind of going on. And I'm gonna blend those areas a little bit more. Make sure to keep asking questions. They have been great. So I'm here to answer those. Wait, did I? Okay. That feels a little bit too far. Did I move it by accident? Probably. It happens. It's okay. But yeah, this is where I would be like, okay, I'm gonna stop here, gonna take a little coffee break, go do something different, you know. And I would later come back maybe an hour or two and kind of just relax and be like, okay, with fresh eyes, and I'm not kidding, I do this like all the time on my sculpts. With fresh eyes, I kind of take a look again and be like, okay, okay. When you come back, it might be like, oh, this is looking a little bit weird. And then you start adding the fixes again. Because I might be too close to this right now to kind of see the differences of it. And it happens. It really does. So it's part of it, kind of the process. Don't like that going too close there. There you go. I want it to flare out like a little hair, you know, like me. So I'm trying to bend it a little bit more. And there's an extra here on the side. I was like, why does it look weird on the left side? You see how there's an extra one here? So if that happens, let's just go to that. There's like 4 here, 2 there. And I'm like, what? Let's just select the 4 ones without symmetry on. The lit hidden. And then just mirror and weld again. And that fixes that. I was like, why does it look weird on the left side? But yeah. This is the whole process of it. I might add some little more heaviness on this because it feels a little bit too flat. So you see how I'm following the shape of it? That's what you want to do. You don't want to go through the line that you already put in there, right? It's like drawing and staying the lines within the lines when you color. Kind of like that. Doesn't need to be all the way. Maybe I leave a little bit of lined up, and then here at the end, I kind of blend it in really well with the skin. So that way it won't feel, like I said before, like it's drawn or fake. And I'm gonna soften some stuff. If you always want to go a little bit more stylized, let me see. You can accentuate certain areas a little bit more squared up, you know. So maybe you take the plane and kind of just square up a little bit more, and that will get you a little bit more of stylization to those areas. You see how that nice line kind of add that feeling instead of this, which is more realistic, you know. Little tips here and there for that. The eyes still don't look crazy enough. So that's where I would just start and kind of just going around. I maybe paint them, and this is where I'm gonna slightly show you guys how to paint in ZBrush really quick. So first of all, let's save again. Would not forget. I'm just gonna save that there. Cool. And I might actually leave that there because I like how that feels. Like I say, it doesn't need to be 100% perfect to my reference. I'm just using this as a overall look. Maybe I want him to have less lips. Maybe I want him to have less teeth. I can totally do that, you know? You have that freedom for yourself when you're doing your work for, you know, for yourself. When you're working on something, then company-wise, then make sure you follow your art leads, art directors and everything. Make sure you go round so it doesn't look too flat. If anything looks a little bit flat, like these right here should be kind of going out because that's like your brow bone. So I might push that out a little bit so it doesn't look too flat. And we can compare because why? We have another one right here, right? So you see how flat that look, how it's kind of getting that roundness a little bit more. And we can compare the changes from here to here. He looks a little bit more thicker, which I like. And yeah, this is definitely the process of it all. Like I was saying, I'm going to show you how to do some painting in here. I'm going to put it in there. There you go. That's better. So the first things first, I'm going to go to the Damien Standard, which is ZBrush. And I'm going to actually put this on the side right here for now. I want to soften everything a little bit, just a little bit, without losing too much. Make sure you Dynamesh if you haven't Dynameshed, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to get the Damien Standard brush and we're going to make sure that RGB is on. And I just press spacebar and it will give me the options there. RGB has to be on, Z-Sub has to be off, right? So I'm going to push this a little to the right. And I'm going to select a color. I'm going to select the red. And don't worry about this. It's just telling you, hey, you have the red selected. So I'm going to do BDS, RGB on, these C-Sub and add sub. C-Sub and Z-Add have to be off because if not, they're going to add color plus sculpt material, right? So if you want to do that, you can, but just letting you know. If you're only going to paint, then take those off. So from here, I'm just going to, you can select whatever alpha you want. I'm just going to keep this one and I'm just going to paint. And you see how it paints weird? You just got to move the model because it's kind of flooding the model. For me, it's like, hey, you have this color picked out. So now you can just paint whatever you want. I'm going to go back and I'm going to go to the eyes and I'm going to make sure that this here is visible because if not, it's going to disappear, right? And then maybe I want red eyes. I'm going to go paint that. I'm going to put this at the bottom and I'm going to turn it into white again. If you're not going to use any color, make sure you turn it into white again because that's the original color of the clay itself. I'm going to cap gray for now. So there you go. That's how you paint. That's how you paint anything here. I won't go into that in this model because there's still a few things I want, like I said, to adjust. Which it will probably be past this stream, to be honest. But at least I got you guys to start something, to kind of go through the process, looking at your references, concepts, kind of approaching, changing really fast, duplicating your models on the side so you notice the changes and if you like them. You see how short he looked on this one? If you want to go for that one, then you don't have to continue on the other ones, right? But I wanted him to look a little bit more adult and menacing. And you see how from here to here, I start changing, I start changing the overall width and emotion almost of him. He looks like very serious here. But here he started looking like, oh. So, you know, slowly going. You don't have to rush it. Just make sure that you're going the right direction in the sense of what you want for the end result. So let me see. So I hope let me see. I have another question. When it comes to the finer details, namely the scales of this monster, do we still do that in ZBrush or is there another program to do skins? So a few parts to that question. So yeah, you can definitely remember when I showed you the alphas of it. So if we go to your Damien Standard brush, let's say, you know what? Let's say there's one that's really like that one. I like that one. Stroke, drag rectangle. If you had scales in this, let's say dragon scales or whatever. Yes. Let me see why it's not showing. Oh, right. Remember, you had RGB on. Make sure you C-Sub or C-Add and turn off RGB if you're going back to that. I'm gonna do Z-add because I like adding. So yes, if this was your skills alpha, let's say you either create one in Photoshop or you find one online, you know, there's a few out there, then you would just bring it in ZBrush and then just stamp those in there. With better resolution than this, remember that we're still in Dynamesh, but that is something that I would leave for when you go to subdivision levels, which is going to give you a lot more polygons to work with, and it's going to be really, really good for finer details. Like I said, Dynamesh is mostly primary, secondary shapes, which is scale, proportion, volume placements, etc. So yes, you can do it in ZBrush. Yes, you can also try doing them in Blender. You can do them in other programs. There's a few programs out there. Substance Painter, you know. So yes, it doesn't necessarily need to be here in ZBrush, but it just depends on your preference and what programs you have for that. Because some aren't free, some are free. So hope that answered your question. So another question, what benefits does painting a model have over using a texture map? So do you mean like painting it here in ZBrush versus putting it in Substance Painter, which you already need UVs for that? I would say the difference is just you don't need UVs in here. I mean, you can create really quick UVs here and in Substance Painter, both of them. It's just gonna be how, again, preference. Like if you want it to go to the whole process, maybe you have some cool materials in Substance Painter that you kind of want to add, then you throw it in there. If you want to kind of do it here, so for example, now that you said that, let me load this really quick. If it loads, there you go. So this is something I've been working on just for fun, but I just wanted to show you the difference. Like here, I just really quickly painted this, like just for fun. I was practicing. President Snow from Hunger Games. Caricature style, just for fun. You know, maybe I want to render it and kind of get a cool render here in ZBrush. I can also send it into Substance and kind of get that working in there. But the difference, I would say, it's a little bit more time consuming in the sense that here I just painted it, rendered it, move on from it. When I do that in Substance, like I said, we need UVs, we need a texture map for that. So we need to create a little bit more clean topology for it. This does not have clean topology. I have not retopo this because, like I said, it's practice for me to kind of push things around, have fun with it. Like the question before, I wanted to get away from normal work and just have fun, if that makes sense. Not like I have to do this and that really quickly, but just like be free, unblock myself and have fun with this. If it turns out good, great. If it doesn't, then I put it in a folder where it's like scrapped. You know, I have two folders where it's like cool sculpts that I have done that I like for fun, blockouts, you know, and then I have another one that's like, this could have used some work. I don't know if the concept wasn't the best for me to translate what I didn't understand of this concept, that I just did I didn't do a good sculpt, because it happens. You know, I've done this for a couple of years now. It doesn't mean that you are not gonna do bad work. It's still gonna happen. Just try to move on from it and trying to get into what you like in your style, if that makes sense, and what, of course, your work is. You're trying to get work at. If you want to go work at Blizzard, then just do Blizzard character stuff. If you want to go Riot, you know, that's my recommendation for that. That's my the penny, my 1 cent or whatever. So that's an example I wanted to show you. So it's just preference on that. But yeah, most of this not done. We did finish into a certain point. Took me a bit longer than I expected, just because I wanted to explain extra things with you for you guys. The goal wasn't to get something finished today. It was just for you to see my process, how long it may take, get you some tips and tricks, answer your questions, you know? And I hope I did. I really do hope. Let me see if I'm missing any questions. No, everything is good there. Cool. So I am going to slowly move some things around while I wait for your last questions, if you have any. And I'm going to start wrapping this up in the next few minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring back my Pure Ref, which as you see, I throw it around all the time. And this one right here, it's actually a sculpt. I'm not sure who the artist is because I couldn't find a name, but you see how beautiful that is? That's beautiful. I like this gills a little bit more, like that, you know, so might change the ones that I have. So depending on what you find, these ones are a little bit more towards mine, a little bit thicker. Then you can change your concept. These ones are definitely into the sculpt, so I love that, the eyeliner on that. I might put that on mine. Anyways, but I'm waiting for your questions. If you guys have any other questions, let me know. From here, what I would do is I would high up the resolution for my Dynamesh a little bit slightly more, right? We're working in increments on this. We're not just going to 300, which is a little bit too high. I'm gonna go 112. I'm gonna Dynamesh, and I'm going to check if it's better for me. And I always go around the eyes, and I'm gonna make sure that I reset my brush because it still has what we were testing with the office. So from here, I'm gonna test it on the eyes. Might need a little bit more. Yeah, perfect. You see how it kind of holds there? Now that's the one that I'm gonna use, and I'm just gonna go around it. I'm just gonna go and touch up some stuff. And still has the red eyes. It's okay. I will change that later when I start kind of adding a little bit more of the details that I want for this later on, which you will probably see the results somewhere on Facebook. Don't worry, I will finish this for you guys. I'll try to make it look creepy to get in that, you know, Halloween vibe. But yeah, if you guys have no more questions, I appreciate you guys coming in today, kind of seeing the process of everything. I hope that you have a good journey on your art, and the overall on life too. If you guys have any questions, don't be afraid to contact us and kind of reach out on that because we're here to help. But yeah, I thank you all for coming. I thank you for looking at everything, having some patience, asking good questions. And I hope you have a great Halloween, which is Monday. It's gonna be fun. So I'll see you guys around. Have a good day. And make sure to sculpt and practice a lot. Okay? Yeah.